Hello, my name's Caroline, and I just wanted to take a minute to welcome you to the Food Recovery for Rhode Island course and take a second to talk about why the work that you're about to engage in matters. So like I said, my name's Caroline, and I'm a sophomore at the University of Rhode Island. I'm studying political science and sociology, and I was actually a student in the Food Recovery for Rhode Island course in the flagship semester of fall of 2021. Then I joined the FRRI team as an intern, focusing mainly on community engagement. And so this module is a really big part of my motivation for being a part of the team and the program through cooperative extension. So while it may seem a little kind of out of left field that you're taking part in a course about food waste, food recovery, topics we often associate with the scientific side of things, and here you have someone studying the humanities talking to you. But I actually think that government, people's motivations, politics, and worldviews have a lot to do with the topics covered in this course, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So one of the really awesome things about learning more about food waste and food waste recovery is that it's an issue that affects all of us. We all have to eat, and we all have our individual relationships to food. And it's also a way that we can make really positive change in the world in a variety of different areas, as well as at a variety of different levels. You know, you can make individual change, local change, and hopefully global change. So why are we doing this? Why did you all sign up for the course? That's kind of a question that I want you to reflect on, to think about what drew you to learning more about this topic and engaging in it and with it on a local level. There are many different passions and convictions that could have drawn you towards taking this course. You could have a concern for the environment, a desire to feed the hungry, interest in preservation and canning techniques, wanting to start your own home composting operation, anything like that. And all of these desires, these passions are valid and are super exciting starting points to get engaged with this work with. And whatever drew you to this course, there's so much to get out of it that will result in you gaining a cross-disciplinary knowledge that can be used in so many different facets of life and work. And so I again want to encourage reflection for all of you throughout the program. So take some time at the beginning, throughout it, and then at the end to see what you've learned, how you've changed, and maybe how your perspectives and motivations have shifted. You know, you came into the course really interested in the environmental impacts of food waste and left it passionate and wanting to work more with, you know, feeding people who don't have food to eat. And that change in perspective and motivation is something you want to notice and celebrate in yourself. So why are we learning to change our personal actions when the problem is so much bigger than us? This is a question we can ask ourselves, you know, about a lot of different topics in our world today. When we look at the ways that our lives and our food waste negatively impact the planet, it can be really easy to get discouraged and forget that our actions matter. Even in large global issues such as food waste, you know, greater environmental issues, the steps that we take in our everyday lives do make an impact in a couple of key ways. So you may have heard of the idea of think global, act local. Maybe you've seen it on a bumper sticker somewhere or a poster. And that is really an idea that's perfectly encapsulated in the community service that you're going to be doing after you finish the coursework with Food Recovery for Rhode Island. So by taking the time to engage with our local community on issues that we're passionate about and working to solve them together, we show others that we care for them and our local community, and we can inspire others to take individual steps or local action in their own lives. And we also show policymakers, business people, corporations, and elected officials what our priorities are and what we care about. And in these ways and other ways, we can make real change through our actions. So just an example of a partner organization of ours that you might get the chance to work with, Hope's Harvest, who work in Rhode Island to organize volunteers to glean. Gleaning is rescuing surplus produce, maybe ugly produce that wouldn't make it on the shelves, or forgotten foods from the fields in local Rhode Island farms. And this group has rescued over 12,000 pounds of apples, potatoes, broccolini, lettuce, scallions, mixed greens, and carrots in the year 2021 and distributed those fresh foods to local food banks to help feed hungry people. So even an hour or two of volunteering at the local level with an organization like this makes real substantial change in people's lives. The volunteer hours of dedicated volunteers, giving an hour or two of their time every week made an impact in people being able to eat, this fresh produce. Acting locally also doesn't mean that we have to give up our kind of loftier desires that we have for our state, our country, and our world's actions when it comes to food waste and food waste recovery. Actually, we could argue that working at the local level shows a deeper commitment to making these dreams happen for our world, since we're willing to take part in maybe getting our hands dirty, going to a farm, really putting in the work to make these things happen. Acting locally also gives us the opportunity to really cater to the needs of our particular area. So a program that works to reduce food waste or increase composting maybe in New York City or Southern California or rural Idaho may not work the same and probably won't work the same in Providence or South Kingston or Newport. And by acting locally, we can make policies and programs and volunteer in ways that really positively affect our communities and meet their unique needs. And also, being a part of these communities locally in Rhode Island, and are passionate about your community probably. And so local action is a great way to show the people that you live around that you care about them. So as a political science student, I want to talk about some of the political barriers that there are to action and what citizens can do to change them and to work around them. So as we navigate our complicated world today, we can see seeming political barriers to action at the local level, but also at the state and federal level. Acting locally does not negate the presence of these forces, such as corporate interests, slow bureaucratic processes, and apathy, any of the things that we hear people talking about. However, it gives us a path towards hope, active engagement, and progress in spite of these barriers. So I would encourage you all and acknowledge that by taking part in this work, you are already taking action in your community. I would just encourage you to transform any complaining about the government inaction that does exist and transform it into grassroots community-based change, which is what you're going to be doing with your volunteer work. So there is much change that is the burden of the government, of these structures that are supposed to support and uplift us. But engaging in local action is not meaningless, as we've talked about before, and it's empowering and effective. We can see through historical reflection that local engagement is a way that real change is made. And we can see that people's lives are enriched through their own civic engagement. So FRRI's method of partnering with community members also, as we've talked about, bolsters a sense of community rather than imposing a one-size-fits-all response to the issue of food waste. So I just want to encourage you that any frustration with, the greater systems that surround us is completely valid and is something that can be channeled into, local work that really does affect our communities, rather than kind of just allowing the frustration to stew and not really have a place to an effective outlet, such as civic engagement. So I'm going to provide some resources. I also want to provide my contact information if anybody is interested in reaching out with any questions, any need for support in the course, or wanting to continue this discussion about civic engagement, political barriers, anything like that. And I just want to send you well wishes and good luck in your work with food recovery for Rhode Island. This course contains such valuable information and experiences, and I'm really excited for you all to get to be a part of the really valuable work that we're doing in Rhode Island right now. And I hope that, your experience with FRRI will positively change your habits, your paradigms, and your life as much as it has changed mine. So well wishes.